Wait a minute. Wait a minute. You know, this is, excuse me, a damn fine cup of coffee.
Hey beautiful people, my name is Satchel Drakes and I make things for a living. I'm a host with Forbes for their Games and Sciences department, and I've been fortunate enough to pursue my dream of being a designer, a filmmaker, and an online creator, and it's put me in the position of working with teams that were, from childhood, instrumental in forming my imagination. The reason I'm mentioning these vapid moments that have no bearing on who I actually am as a person is because no project I've worked on has shown up or been successfully completed solely because of my own doing. There's always been someone more intelligent, more resourceful, more sacrificial, and for sure more disciplined on the team making things work. And it's been nothing short of a learning experience for me. Being a student is my life, and over the course of many videos, I'd like to share all of the small creative habits I've picked up along my journey that I feel have made me better. Results of screwing up. Stuff I think you'll find to be damn good habits. I wanted to start with the start. Getting started on an idea and creating a distraction-free environment so that you can follow through. I was recently at a book signing at Kinokuniya bookstore in Manhattan, and during the Q&A session, the first question asked of the author was, what do you do when you encounter writer's block? And I kind of grinned a little bit in anticipation because I know two things about that question. One, is asked in just about every panel I've participated in, and two, seldom does anyone ever have a direct or conclusive answer for it. Oftentimes it feels like you're a victim of the universe with that, and I think we can attribute it to a couple of pain areas. The first area of ambiguity is that writer's block isn't a medical diagnosis, though it's often thrown around in this all-encompassing prescriptive way. There might be a myriad of reasons of context that one experiences the symptoms that are often attributed to writer's block, but we check our phones on average 110 times a day. So when Chad can't seem to hit his stride on his YouTube video script because his phone notifications are monopolizing his attention, he falls a little bit outside of the brand of writer's block that Hemingway experienced while penning For Whom the Bell Tolls. Nonetheless, these are real problems and everyone runs into them. And in order to hit that stride of productivity, in the least, we need to minimize what could be pulling us away from thinking the most effectively. So I'm gonna say the first value worth caring about is focus. There's something I always do to get myself into a place of focus. I don't make my goal the finished product. My goal isn't an exported YouTube video. That's the last 10 minutes of what could be a multi-day endeavor. Instead, my goal is the very first small step. So in this case, writing the script. Once I have my text editor open, I set a timer for 22 minutes. And I say, in those 22 minutes, my objective is to just produce. In my situation, it's 20 minutes to type plus 2 minutes to allow my mind to wander on an idea. The goal is tricking my brain and your brain into saying yes to a relatively easy task. Once I hit my 22 minutes, I have grounding, I have progress that serves as encouragement to keep going, and a willingness to overachieve since taking on another 22 minutes is still a low-cost situation. Eventually, the gaps and strides get longer, then 2 or more micro tasks get done, and as the gap between the final video file and export gets smaller, there's less of a need to focus on much of a process of completion because you hit a downhill point. Or if you don't, you keep plugging in those quarters until the game is over. I've heard a similar method to this in the life hacker productivity scene called the Pomodoro method, and I'll say that it kind of lost me and didn't fit in with my inclination to dive feet first and then tighten things up later. It also revolves around 25-minute increments, but it asks you to plan out everything that's happening. Listen, the moment I'm sitting down, putting together ETAs on everything, I'm logging hours. Literally everybody hates logging hours. None percent of people say the most invigorating part about their day was logging into Oracle or Workamajig or whatever people are strong-armed into using. Offices typically have managers who inherit the role of being an employee shepherd for people who do not want to get sucked into telegraphing or reviewing time spent. I see it like this. I'm not going to finish one task and forget what task is next. I don't need 50 Pomodoro timers. I just need to have a general idea of each leg of the process, get started, and then keep moving. It reminds me a bit of Getting Things Done, or GTD, or OmniFocus, where I'm spending an equivalent amount of time in the task managers as I am just buying the damn carton of milk or whatever menial task I'm making searchable colored tags for. I don't have time. What helps about the 22-minute intervals, more than assigning them to timers, is being able to keep tighter track of those distractions when they strike. Just writing the script for this video right here, almost every interval was full productivity. 2 intervals were half filled with response to a comment on Reddit and my DoorDash order, needing to arrive. I can keep track of the length of my distractions if they're tiny slices, and when an alarm going off at every interval, I can never be distracted for more than 20 minutes, which, let's be real, is way shorter than we've tended to drift in the past. The second value is distraction, which you might be asking, why would distraction be a value? I was at a talk given by acclaimed developer Jonathan Blow, and he was walking the audience through the new challenges he had starting a company and brainstorming new ideas for his next abstract puzzle video game. Details aside, in his process, whenever he hit a concentrated stride on an idea, new ideas still wouldn't come to him. So what he did to solve that problem was he habitualized a practice of getting new ideas by not pursuing them. Here was his version of doing this. Jonathan Blow, unbeknownst to all of us, loves dancing. So whenever he hit a blocker, he would go out dancing and put a pen and a napkin in his back pocket. Once he was done dancing for the night, like magic, a flood of ideas would come and he'd pull out his pen and his napkin and he would write them down. This, in truth, is a neurological phenomenon. We commonly advance ideas or get completely new ideas if we're not pressuring ourselves to look for them. We can create synapses and make back doors to creative answers by visiting rooms other than the most obvious ones, but we must be prepared. I think there are good and bad distractions, so probably anything on your smartphone is a bad distraction to use with this model. The last value is privacy. Give yourself some privacy. In a meta-modern culture of oversharing, when we get an idea that we cherish, rather than our love of it leading us to count it as sacred and keep it to ourselves, we want to share it with the outside world in its premature form. Or we want criticism of our romantic pitch of it before the pen even hits the paper. This is probably the strongest momentum killer for just about any creative idea, and the reason is biology. When you outline an amazing creative idea and share it before you made it, the affirmation of your peers causes your body to send a hit of dopamine equivalent to the success you'd feel if you had actually made it. And in most cases, that's where the project dies. You did it. You sought a response to nothing material and receive the same reward somehow. Sometimes it's best to keep a secret and release it when it's done. These 3 principles keep the wheels greased for me when I want to dive into getting things done. Hopefully they help. Rock on.